there, welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And on this show, we're going to break down how the San Francisco 49ers can fix their defense. There are scheme changes that need to happen. There are personnel changes that could take place to help solve these issues. And is Nick Sorensen in over his head? We're going to explore all of this coming up over the next several minutes, but let's begin with a programming reminder. We're running it back with another watch party because that's what we do every week here on the Niners Report. Join us for some NFL Week 4 action. Niners host the Patriots on Sunday at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. So hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon. Turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live, anytime we push out a show, you will be notified. So to really set the foundation and to set the table for today's show, it's proper to start off by taking a look at the Niners defensive rankings through 3 games this year. And these numbers are not going to cut it, especially when you have so much financial capital invested onto the defensive side of the football, and you have some All-Pros, Pro Bowlers, and some future Hall of Famers on the defensive side of the rock. The Niners, through 3 games going into Week 4, they're giving up 23 points per game. That's 21st in the NFL. They are 16th in yards per game given up, 321.7. Yards per play, 3rd worst in the NFL. So 30th among 32 teams at 6.1 per play. That is not sustainable right there. San Francisco giving up nearly 53% of 3rd down conversions. That is 30th among 32 teams. They simply can't get off the field, and that is hurting this Niners offense. And then when teams get inside the red zone, they are scoring a touchdown 60% of the time. That ranks the Niners 21st. This is a defense, as I noted, with so much talent. They should not be struggling like this to start the year, especially because the scheme is basically the same. From Robert Saleh to DeMeco Ryans, to Steve Wilks, to Nick Sorensen. So why are the Niners playing lackluster football defensively? I think there are 5 core defensive issues for this team right now. They can't pressure the quarterback. They cannot stop the run. They have had coverage breakdowns. They have had communication lapses. They have been awful on 3rd down. This comes down to bad coaching, bad scheme, not being disciplined. This comes down to a lack of execution and more, but these 5 issues are the core defensive issues for this team right now. So with that, I pop up today's poll question, and this will be the pinned comment on today's Niners Report. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, use it to your advantage, scroll on down, and join the conversation amongst the faithful down in the comments section. Can the Niners defense turn it around? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Next up here on the show, a lot of the Niners' problems start and end with stopping the run. And that is an area where San Francisco has really struggled over the last couple of years. And with that is stopping the run a scheme problem. And specifically, is the wide 9 front a problem for the Niners? San Francisco has run an iteration of the wide 9 under Saleh, under DeMeco, under Wilks, and now under Sorensen. And what that does, when you have your defensive linemen spread out, it creates space and lanes for the defensive front to pressure the quarterback in the pass game. What can also happen? That can lead to wide running lanes if you lack a run stopper at defensive tackle. And over the last couple of years, the Niners have not had that run-stuffing, wide-bodied, girthy defensive tackle. Now, let me step aside and give you a look at what the wide 9 is. And it's pretty much what I explained a little bit earlier, where you see the defensive front. In this case, this is a 4-3 base defense. That is what the Niners run. And you see how these defensive linemen are each a few yards apart. And the issue that the Niners have run into here with that wide 9, they have lacked that necessary wide-bodied run-stuffing defensive tackle who can occupy space against the run. because Javon Hargrave and right now Malik Collins are more of pass rushing defensive tackles. And now that the Niners will no longer have Javon Hargrave, could the defense improve with his absence? They're going to miss his ability to get after the quarterback via the pass rush, but we'll talk about that coming up here in just a few moments. And if you cannot stop the run, it neutralizes the pass rush, and it eats up the clock, because if the opposition is just running the football successfully, you're not able to find that comfort zone, that momentum of trying to get after the quarterback, and then the offense just occupies the football for so long, it wears down the defense. They're able to go on these elongated drives, and in turn, it keeps this electric Niners offense off the field and out of rhythm. So far this year, San Francisco is giving up 4.5 yards per carry. That is 21st among the 32 teams in the NFL. And let's circle back to the conversation about what the Niners had at defensive tackle on a large amount of downs. Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins. They are two pass rushing defensive tackles. In this era of the NFL, you have to be able to pressure the quarterback in the pass game. If you can't, those quarterbacks will have all day to sit back in the pocket, survey the field, and carve you up. Especially if you blitz and you still can't get home, because then you have a lack of secondary members on that back end. Shoot, even if you have 7 on the back end, as far as your linebackers, your corners, and your secondary, and you only rush 4, but you can't get to the quarterback, we saw what happened last week with Matthew Stafford. He was under siege from time to time, but the lack of a consistent pass rush and then some of these schematic breakdowns, communication breakdowns on the back end allowed the Rams to come back in that game, and Matthew Stafford proved why he's probably the best quarterback in the NFC. So the issue for the Niners, though, is that they need pass rushing help. They haven't been able to get after the quarterback. So it's really a multifaceted problem as far as the Niners' struggles go on the defensive side of the football. With the loss of Javon Hargrave, could it help San Francisco? Obviously not with the pass rush. He had 5 pressures and a sack of Matthew Stafford last week. But Jordan Elliott, the backup defensive tackle, who will now step into the starting role, I would imagine, with Kevin Givens and T.Y. McGill as backups, Kalia Davis, once he comes back, those are better players who are more equipped to stop the run because they're more of that old school nose tackle, defensive tackle who can play better in defending the run. So because Hargrave is going to be out for the rest of the year with that torn triceps, we could see a little bit of a scheme alteration for the Niners here. And that could improve some of their issues in stopping the run. There's a saying out there from football coaches, you have to earn the right to rush the passer. And that starts with being able to plug the running gaps and stopping the run. Right now, the Niners really can't do anything well. A common question from fans, though, should the Niners just blitz more as far as the pass rush? Well, if you can get home with 4 and you have 7 on the back end, it makes it really hard for the offense to move the ball because everybody's covered on that back end. But if you send blitz packages toward the opposing quarterback, you then lack members in that secondary, and then teams will try to negate that pass rush by throwing quick passes, or guys will just be open on that back end because naturally there are lesser defenders. So again, when you talk about this Niners defense right now, the root causes for their issues, there are so many of them currently, and that's why this Niners defense has been pathetic and a joke the first 3 games of the year. Let's flip the page to the top defensive coordinators in the NFL, though, because maybe Nick Sorensen is going to be able to take a look at what Brian Flores does with Minnesota, what Jim Schwartz does with Cleveland, and what Steve Spagnuolo does with the Kansas City Chiefs, and implement what some of those defensive coordinators do, and he can implement those things with this Niners defense. Brian Flores blitzes about 80% of the time. He also does such a great job of mixing up his blitzes, but as well as his coverage looks, where there's always so much movement on the defensive side of the ball, which counters the offensive movement of all the pre-snap motion that we're seeing in today's NFL and all the spacing that's really been paramount for offenses over the last 5 years or so. Jim Schwartz runs a wide 9 like the Niners do. And Kyle Shanahan is 1-9 against Jim Schwartz. So clearly his defenses work, and his defenses are some of the best in the NFL. But like Flores, he mixes up his defensive coverages and his blitz looks. And then Steve Spagnuolo, he gets so aggressive with blitzes from time to time where you see corner blitzes and safety blitzes. But I think all three of these defensive coordinators are much more creative as compared to Nick Sorensen. And that's part of the reason why Sorensen up to this point has been exposed. And obviously, his lack of experience is an issue there as well. We have a lot more to break down on today's show. But first, if you want to support the program, support the Niners, and you want to rep San Francisco, get your shirts today at chatsports.com/SF. Available in red, available in black. We have sent these out all over the United States, but also overseas as well, because we do have people who watch the program from all across the globe. It really is incredible. That link is down below in the comment section and in the description of today's video. Next up here on the show, as we try to solve these Niners defensive issues, could San Francisco trade for a defensive tackle? And could they make a move with the most cap space in the NFL with more than $50 million in cap space to bring in a player at defensive tackle who could help this struggling Niners rushing defense? There are 5 players who kind of fit the mold. Some of them very familiar names, and those names will immediately ring a bell. DJ Jones played with this team. He was a 7th-round pick by the Niners several years ago and then signed a 3-year, $30 million contract after the 2021 season with the Denver Broncos. He is kind of that old-school defensive tackle who can stop the run. Montravius Adams started a lot of games for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. He can stop the run and has had success in doing that in his NFL career. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the top defensive tackles in the game. He might be number 2 behind Chris Jones, and that's really saying something. And then 2 more former Niners. How about a reunion with DeForest Buckner or a reunion with Eric Armstead? We know those players are scheme fits, and we know that they can produce in this defense. For Buckner, he's been one of the top defensive tackles in the game for a long time. Eric Armstead hasn't been that, but he's also a highly productive player when he can stay healthy. How about the Niners' EPA per rush? When I had said that the Niners' struggles against the run have been the root cause or one of the root causes of their issues, and it's been an issue for the last couple of years, I wasn't lying to you. In 2021, they were number 2 in EPA per rush allowed under DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco then comes back, and in 2022, they were number 2 once again. But then last year and this year, look at how far the Niners have fallen in the EPA per rush category. Number 26 a year ago. It's part of the reason why that defense fell off a cliff. And number 28 this year. It is simply not sustainable to have these numbers a reality for this team with this much talent and expect to win a Super Bowl, but be a productive defense week in and week out. I am an advocate, and I am a big fan of being a proponent of emphasizing all 3 phases of the game because everything kind of coincides. And right now, the Niners are not playing complementary football. So that's the scheme aspect of this conversation. The other part of the conversation is this. Could the Niners make some personnel changes to fix the defense? I think it's time to bench Devondre Campbell. Every time that he was targeted against the Rams, and he was targeted with the purpose from Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, he gave up a catch and a perfect passer rating. I was high on the value signing of Isaac Yiadom, but he has struggled mightily in his first 3 games as a Niner. We're going to see more Jordan Elliott in place of Javon Hargrave. That could naturally help solve the Niners' issues against the run. And if you bench Yiadom, do you see more of Renardo Green? And San Francisco could play Curtis Robinson more, but during Thursday's practice, he was carted off the field during a special teams drill. So when the Niners are in these dime packages and teams have forced them to play a lot of dime, they are then targeting their linebackers in the pass game. That includes Devondre Campbell and Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles. And then lastly, is Nick Sorensen the guy? Is Nick Sorensen not the guy? Keep in mind that in 2021, when DeMeco Ryans replaced Robert Saleh, he struggled early as the team's defensive coordinator. He was kind of feeling things out, making some adjustments, and he really didn't hit his stride until the midway point of that 2021 season. And remember that year, the Niners started off the 2021 campaign 3-5. Then they ended the season in a hot manner. So D'Amico did struggle early. Nick Sorensen has some time to turn it around, but the pressure is on this football team because they are Super Bowl contenders. The inability to stop the run and get third down stops is concerning. And the coverage breakdowns and the communication miscues, that comes down to coaching. You can blame player execution all that you want, but if players don't know what to do within that defense and they're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, leading to these explosive plays as Matthew Stafford has taken the top off of the defense. Sam Darnold gashing the Niners the week prior with that 97-yard touchdown. That is coaching right there, which is why I've said to start the year, Nick Sorensen has been in over his skis and he's been ill-prepared to be a defensive coordinator in this league. If you want to give me a follow on X and Instagram, I would certainly appreciate it. I put out a lot of short-form content on my social media pages, Talkin' Niners, in addition to the long-form content right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report.